If you're a founder, you know that fundraising is a big part of the job. What you might not know is that Carta is there to help. Carta's new fundraising suite provides startups of all stages the best tools and support to easily issue safes, accurately forecast dilution, and quickly close funding rounds. Save time, money, and make your next round your best yet. To learn more or to get started, go to carta.com/fundraise. That's carta.com/fundraise. Welcome to Inc. for Starters with Alexa Von Tobel. I'm Alexa, a serial entrepreneur myself and founder and managing partner of Inspired Capital, a venture firm that backs fearless founders who are solving some of the biggest challenges facing humanity. Now in our 6th season, we sit down each week with one of the best founders on the planet to hear their story of guts, inspiration, and drive. Let's dive right in. Hi, everybody. I'm your host, Alexa Von Tobel. And this week, I'm so excited to share a founder in the Inspired portfolio, Brian Whorley, the co-founder and CEO of Paytient, the company that helps people make better healthcare decisions by improving their ability to pay for care. After a decade of working in hospital administration, Brian was troubled by the increasing number of patients who struggled with high deductibles. In 2018, Brian co-founded Paytient to bring new health benefits that could ensure access to care without financial harm. In 2015, Paytient will help nearly 25 million Americans more easily access and afford care. A two-time founder, Brian has worked in healthcare since 2007 in his home of Columbia, Missouri, where he lives with his wife and 2 children. Brian studied engineering at University of Missouri and received a graduate degree from Washington University in St. Louis. And with that, let's welcome Brian. Brian, I'm so honored to have you here today, and I'm thrilled for this conversation for many reasons. Welcome.
Thank you very much, Alexa. It's great to see you again and appreciate the opportunity.
Wonderful. Well, so let's just start from the beginning. I'm lucky to be an investor in Paytient, and I was sold on the Paytient vision. But tell everybody, what is the vision for Paytient? What was the aha moment? Let's go back to those early days in 2018 when you founded and got the company off the ground.
Yeah, Alexa, you were there as one of our earliest and most vocal proponents. And so thank you very much for your early conviction. I started Paytient in April 2nd, 2018, after spending most of my career inside a hospital. And from inside the hospital, it was easy to see the uncertainty on people's faces when they walked in the door. You know, every time someone walks in the door of a hospital or a physician's office, it's an incredibly personal and uncertain moment in their life. There's something wrong. They feel off, either themselves or a loved one or a child. And I wanted to step out into the world and give people certainty, to give people confidence, to make that moment as good as possible, to make that moment feel better. You know, people with confidence live their lives differently. They make different decisions. And I want to essentially empower people and ensure that everyone had an easier means of accessing and affording healthcare. So I live here in Columbia, Missouri. That's right in between KC and St. Louis. We have a robust trails network here. In fact, there's a trail that runs all the way across the state. So I could literally ride my bike from right here in my office to St. Louis or to Kansas City, 200 miles in either direction without ever seeing a car. It's an amazing place to live, work, and play. And I was riding my bike on the trail with a friend of mine who owned a large FSA, like flexible spending account. We were talking about all the challenges that he has seen over decades. And he was like, Brian, gosh, like just folks aren't liquid. They don't put enough in their accounts. Employers don't put enough in their accounts, $500 billion worth of out-of-pocket spending. The issue is that like folks just don't have enough in their FSA or HSA. Lightning kind of struck right there, like in between sort of strokes on the bicycle. And I kind of thought, well, we kind of do a version of this inside the hospital. Like, what if we brought liquidity? What if we brought capital to the table? What if we partner with thoughtful employers and insurers and essentially give people certainty, certainty of affordability, certainty that they're prepared for those very uncertain moments? If we did that, I'm willing to bet that we could, A, put people in a better place to get care, and 2, I think that we would actually influence and change how people make decisions about how they insure themselves, if, when, where, and how much care they get. And that change in patient behavior, I'm willing to bet, would change not only health outcomes, but also create value for insurers, employers, their health plans, broadly speaking. And that's exactly what has sort of played out over the last 6 years.
That's amazing, Brian. Your core product at Paytient is the Health Payment Account, or HPA. Can you walk us through what it's like to be a customer of Paytient? What does that look like?
Yeah. So we partner with employers and insurers who have a perspective that, hey, we want to ensure that everyone here who either works for us or we insure, that every single person is easily and effortlessly able to pay for care. So what patient is providing is the means for them to impact a very hard to reach but powerful social determinant of health, which is the ability to pay for care. So we partner with employers and insurers to bring dollars to the table. We functionally call it a health payment account, but literally we're bringing capital, liquidity, access to capital to the table, whether that's our own or it's the actual insurer or employers. And we provide that to people on the patient app. So folks download the patient app as a benefit, either alongside their health plan or fully integrated into the health plan. People sign in, they see that their employer has hired us to avail $1,000, $2,000 to them. Essentially, we're filling their deductible with interest-free credit that they can use to pay for healthcare today and turn that spiky, unexpected, one-time out-of-pocket expense into a predictable, planned, and painless payment plan, always without interest or fees. And so started the company here in April 2018, started working with Missouri-based employers. Pretty soon we began to productize patient into a health plan offering. Soon that was out across, several different states. And now, patient works with most of the nation's largest leading insurers to either bundle patient alongside or actually build patient into the health plan itself. And so for our listeners, there will be a day right around the corner where the health plan that you get from your employer or on the exchange, ACA, will just have patient built into it. That's a pretty amazing thing that we see, it's helping people just get care on their own terms.
Brian, you have many stakeholders in the business that you're building at Patient. You have employers, payers, health systems. Can you talk a little bit about the value prop for each of those audiences?
Yeah, the value prop for the employer and the health insurer are similar. There are differences, but we'll put those together as generic like health plans. So a health plan that comes with an easier way to pay for care, that's valued. It's valued by employees, it's valued by members. People stay on that plan longer. So you see higher employee retention for health plans like ACA plans that we work with, where there's choice every single open enrollment period. That's an increasingly robust and stable and competitive market. People who are on a health plan with patient stay on that plan. So if you're an insurer and you're offering patient, your members stay longer. And not only are they staying longer with you, that's a good thing. It allows a longer time horizon for your investments into them around education and ensuring better, healthier decision making, like a longer time horizon for those investments to pay off. Folks are happier. The paying for care is often the most painful part of the experience. The out of pocket had previously been out of reach. And what insurers are doing is they're saying, aware of and mindful that this part of it influences consumption, that not everyone has the same bank account balance and the same ability to pay for care. Here's an easy way that we can sort of address affordability at scale for entire states, entire regions, cities, employers. And so we're able to put people into a better place. We're able to cause the earlier consumption of healthcare. And so rather than folks rationing care by the introduction of confidence and liquidity, we're able to actually ensure folks are rationally consuming care. And so rather than putting something off or delaying, deferring care, you're seeing an increase in primary care, you're seeing an increase in labs and tests and diagnostics. And so folks are actually able to get care, fairly reimburse providers for that care. That's a benefit to health systems and providers. So when insurers and health systems sit down at the table every few years, which they're doing now, and renegotiating what rates look like, they're say, hey, net, we're trying to put people into a better place. And that's a direct benefit also for providers and health systems. You won't find a hospital administrator in this country or, a physician or nurse, the folks who are actually providing care. We say, I want fewer people walking in our doors in a more precarious position. They want to provide the great care. That's their life calling. And this just enables patients and providers to come together a little bit more effortlessly. It allows employers and insurers to enhance, I think, really two things, Alexa. Like it's this unique blend of like autonomy and empowerment where There's some part of healthcare where we all self-pay for. That's all autonomous. The more that I self-pay for care, the less someone else is able to tell me when and where I can go for care. I think that's universally a good thing. I think there's something unique about American society that wants that, demands that, actually will fight for that right to where I get to decide what's best for me, for myself, my loved ones, for our children, like where we go for care. And so what we're trying to do is to empower folks for that responsibility. And I think that is putting folks in a healthier position. And honestly, it's resulting in a healthier health system.
Brian, having gotten to know you over the last now almost 6 years, I can say very clearly that you do put your patients front and center in every decision that you make. It is a very unique attribute of your core alignment to the mission. Can you give us a few standout stories, one or two, where a patient has profoundly helped somebody that have really stuck with you that would help everybody that's listening understand the powerful benefit of what patient is doing for people?
Yeah, absolutely. So every time somebody uses patient to pay for care, those folks are randomly prompted once a quarter to say, "Hey, Alexa, you just paid $200 at the urgent care. Tell us about your experience." And Alexa, we all get those, emails from airlines and hotels. I'm like, nobody fills them out. We hear every single day from people. Every single day, folks select that and voluntarily, in a non compensated way, tell us, "Hey, patient helped me to live my life better." There's a story, it's Amy's story. And so she's an employee at a large employer, good job, good benefits, good deductible. And she told a story about like how she's a softball mom. And so when child was sliding into third base, they sprained an ankle, and healthcare just happens, right? That's like her lightning strike. And so she has a child with a swelled up ankle, and she's sitting here trying to decide, oh, do I need to go to they're crying, they're emotional, it's upset, there's already stress from the game. And so she's trying to decide, well, as a mom, I want to provide the best possible care. Like, do they need to go to the emergency room? Do we need to go to the urgent care? Like, how much is that going to cost? And the copay is X. And, with patients, she was able to be the mom that she wants to be, right? Like, she's able to take care. And that's an eternal, everlasting, that will always be true. Like, it's true today, it'll be true 50 years from now. And so, all of our clients, these are employers and insurers who very thoughtfully want to ensure that every single one of their teammates, employees can easily and effortlessly get care so that they can be the parent of the partner that they see themselves as. And so it's this sort of pragmatic mix of autonomy and empowerment. So we partner with a really large dental insurer, and dental care is a lot out of pocket, right? And this is a person who responded that they were able to get their teeth fixed, and they hadn't smiled in a long time.
Wow.
From day one, functionally what we do is we help people pay for care, right? Like, it's a fintech product, but it's a healthcare business. And you think about then like how this person's going to live their life a little bit differently, like the confidence they're going to have standing at the front desk of that hotel, and they're able to greet folks and walk in, and they're able to be a more productive member of society. Like, they're just able to live a fuller, longer, happier, healthier life. And this is a person with like a good job and good insurance, et cetera. That's just, for whatever reason inside their home, that's personal, private, this really, really made a difference for them.
I love that, Brian. And I've been fortunate to hear some of the incredible stories, but they really are stories that drive your team every day to work harder. Let's transition a little bit. Obviously, patient sits in a regulated category. Are there any regulations that you're looking at around patient that really matter to your mission right now? Tell us.
Yeah. I mean, this is a really perfect segue because I started this company in April 2nd, 2018. And sort of the founding thesis was that, hey, one day, someday, patient will become not just commonplace, but it'll become a standard of care. So just like washing your hand, when I was in the hospital, I spent 6 years in the OR, right? And so like, every single surgeon before every single case, every single hospital, it's going to wash their hands because that hand hygiene leads to better health outcomes. We know that improving the ability of people to pay for care causes healthcare consumption. It causes folks to actually get care, causes better health outcomes. So we believe that if we worked with enough employers and insurers, one day, someday, this would become commonplace, that it would become a matter of hygiene, that this were built in. I really didn't imagine that one day, someday, there would be a law requiring patient or something that look, feels, and functions like patient. And that's exactly what has come true. And so it's affirmation of our founding thesis. But there was a law passed 2022 that resulted in the Medicare prescription payment plan. So beginning January 1st, 2025, every single Part D health plan in the country must provide the option to their plan members, in which there's 54 million Americans with a Part D plan. So they must provide the option to those 54 million people to pay their out-of-pocket pharmaceutical expenses over time via interest-free monthly installments. So it is now a ratified, true requirement that for the 1,000 plus, Part D MAPD plans out in the country, that they have to provide the means where when my mom walks into CVS on January 1 and the pharmacy tech says, "Hey, Carmen, it's $240." And my mom sort of says, "Ooh, gosh," they'll be able to say, "Oh, it looks like you're enrolled in the Medicare prescription payment plan. CVS will pay the pharmacy on my mom's behalf at the point of service. My mom will be able to grab her pills, walk out the door, go home. So she's able to take her pills. And then, she'll receive a communication from her health insurer to repay the insurer back over time, essentially out of pocket smoothing. And so the same concept that she does for when she opts into her utility bill and kind of smooths out the ups and downs over the course. She's on a fixed income, she's retired. And so, the result of that is going to be more Medicare beneficiaries will be better able to, access care. And so patient will be powering that requirement for nearly half of the market. And so a little bit under half. And so no other company will be powering as many folks as patient will. And so it's an incredible responsibility that we've been entrusted with. It's affirmation of our mission. And so you're going to hear a story like Amy's or hear a story like others where, folks who wouldn't have picked up a prescription, which is a lot, like if a prescription's worth more than $250, half of those are unfilled. Medical non-adherence is the number one reason for hospital readmission and ER visits. And so, this is admission that, hey, gosh, if we improve the ability of people to pay for care, if we use time as a design axis, the result is going to be a healthcare system that's a little bit more accessible, equitable, and affordable. And people are going to be able to live longer, happier, healthier lives. It's not just our perspective, that is now law of the land. And we're privileged to be a part of that.
And we'll be right back after a message from our sponsors. Alexa here. Not only do I get the opportunity to speak with all types of founders on the Inc. Founders Project podcast, I'm also a founder myself. I believe that when the world zigs, you have to zag. So in 2008, when the entire world was in free fall during the global financial crisis, I decided to drop out of business school to solve a problem I couldn't get out of my head. LearnBest was born, and I set out on my fundraising journey to build the first digital financial manager accessible to the masses. I can't stress enough how vital fundraising is to a startup and how many no's I had to endure. Carta knows this and had founders in mind when they created their fundraising suite, providing tools and support to take the friction out of fundraising and saving founders time and money, allowing founders to focus on their goals, not the admin work needed to close a round. From simply issuing safes to quickly receiving funds, Carter's fundraising suite helps their cap table customers raise a better fundraising round. To learn more or to get started, go to carta.com/fundraise. That's carta.com/fundraise. I want to go back to the beginning and transition to you, Brian. You grew up in Springfield, Missouri. I always like to ask entrepreneurs, particularly repeat entrepreneurs, was there something that your parents did that in the rearview mirror set you up for success with being a risk-taking human being entrepreneur?
You've been around a lot of founders now, and you've had the opportunity to meet them and interview them and invest, in a few of them. My take is that I think founders are forged in their first 18 years, whether they know it or not. And I think it's really hard to design founders, right? And I think that the things parents must do or not do in order to kind of cause that insatiable, relentless propellant inside of a founder to sort of one day ignite I don't know that that's intentional at all. I don't consider myself a special person. I lead, an incredibly special group of people here. I'm very grateful to my parents, and particularly my mom's constant source and deep well of faith in her life that really was a source of inspiration for us in highly uncertain and insecure moments. And that's been the greatest gift that she has given me in my life.
I love that, Brian.
Yeah. Yeah. But I think that CEOs can be hired, but founders have to be forged. And I think that they're forged in their first 18 years, not in the next 18 years.
Having had the privilege of interviewing almost 250 of the best entrepreneurs on the planet, I believe there is, it's almost simply it's a personality type. It's a natural comfort for risk, stress, swinging, mission orientation that the best founders have where they thrive in these environments. I want to ask you more questions, which is this is your second entrepreneurial journey with your co-founder, Daniel Lin.
Mhm.
And I know you're a very partner-oriented person naturally. You're a very, very relationship-based human being, which I respect and really admire about you. Talk a little bit about what you think makes a partnership successful.
Daniel's my rock. We complete each other. We balance each other out. Not only is he an exceptional engineer, chief technology officer with an emphasis on quality, but he's an exceptional leader as well. Today the product design engineering department is maybe half the company, maybe a little bit less than half the company. But there's a lot of people that look to him to be, a voice of reason, a calming presence, and just, having wisdom that they can rely on. We're in each other's corner 100% of the time. And we bring out the best in each other. And so we started 17 years ago as strangers, and, we ended as friends and lifelong friends. I was one of his groomsmen in his wedding. And so when I called him, I was like, "Hey, I have another idea. Do you have one more in you?" He was like, "Yeah, I do." And so I think we just have an amazing partnership, and that's really, really important to both of us.
I want to point out something that I really think makes you special for building Patient, which is that you have worked in hospital administration for over a decade. You are an insider seeing the future and what's possible. How do you think that experience has impacted your approach to transforming healthcare, which is quite literally what you're doing with Patient?
I absolutely loved working at the hospital. It was a huge part of my life for the better part of, 10, almost 15 or so years in different capacities. I loved being part of a place where people would turn to in their moment of need. Alexa, Columbia, Missouri, it's a town of 100,000. There's maybe 30,000 students that are added on top of that every year. And so, and every single week you'd see someone you knew, right, in the hospital. I remember on the very first day that I was hired, our CEO said, "Hey, when you see someone in the hospital, that person could be having the absolute best day of their life, or they could be having the absolute worst day of their life." And so that sense of empathy for people, to not make assumptions about what folks are going through, to extend empathy for people, was just day one. And I loved it. I think it was part of my childhood, that just sort of the sensitivity toward others or perception of what people are going through was really, really well placed in that role. I think, working inside the hospital, you come to have an appreciation for the interdependencies and the interconnectedness of what the health system is today. The approach of Patient is all rooted in that we have to understand and value the viewpoints and the values and the incentives and the perspectives of a diverse set of stakeholders. We have to value and understand the role of insurers, employers, benefit consultants, regulatory agencies, even elected officials. We have to understand, how patients perceive this. And so I think all of those years, it really helped to stress that you have to work with the health system as it presently is. You have to work with the world as it is today and try to very patiently move it and help it ideally pull you in and help make change, positive change from within. I think I see all too often, all too many inexperienced founders try to push something onto healthcare. And I think the best way to do that is to help those who are well positioned and are presently caring for the country, to help them do what they already want to do a little bit better. I think that's the way that you can earn a right to be essential in people's lives.
I love that. Brian, last question on you before we move to our quick fire round, because this is my favorite question. I saved it for last, which is you've said before that when you are a category creator like you are, your role as CEO is actually more like a chief evangelical officer. Talk to us about that role.
It was a admission that early on, if you're truly creating something new, a new category, which we are, that in the earliest days, you're sort of, walking around the wilderness, talking to anybody who'll listen to you about, hey, I think that the world should work in this new and different way. And, you're walking among a sea of skeptics and you're trying to build among that sea of skeptics just a small band of believers who see the world as you see it. It's trying work to be sure, but that's the crucible that you have to cross or to go through to truly create, I think, a new category. And it's brutal early on. I think, we've done that. We were able to win, and to work with early adopters and to share both, the economic rationale for why patient results and, better decision making and value creation for plan sponsors, how it puts people into a better place and how the world is probably going to change in this direction. Like we had to basically paint a picture that, I believe it is inevitable, that this future world is inevitable. And just we see it first. And gosh, maybe you see it second. And maybe we help a third person see it the third way. And so that requires passion and a fearlessness and a conviction in our mission and what we're doing. I think along the way, as that band got larger and we started to pull more folks in, selflessly and with humility, think through like, what am I great at and what am I not great at? And then how do I sort of augment our team and build folks in that ensures that our mission can be even more successful? We have larger and larger responsibility to our stakeholders, our shareholders, our clients, our members, and others. And so we want to, bring in the very best people that we can find in order to help us, deliver on our responsibilities. That's incredibly important. I think, right now is like that vision, becomes a reality. It's less about me and my perspective, and it's more about the company and how we deliver on responsibilities and how we continually just help now like millions and millions of folks be in a better place and provide that certainty in those uncertain moments. It's been an incredible journey.
I love it. Brian, I'm going to ask you a question. First thing that comes to mind, quick answers. What is a quote you live by?
Everything around you gets better when you get better.
I love that, Brian. I've never heard that one. That is incredible.
Right.
What is a book you've read that has made a big impact on your life?
Risky Business is a good one. So healthcare economist Amy Finkelstein and a co-author wrote that book, and it's about selection markets. So read it about the company, bought a copy for everybody here. And Amy actually was able to email with her, which was awesome.
That's amazing. What is your biggest pinch me moment to date since you started Paytient?
Couple of them, sitting down and meeting with members of Congress in their offices in DC and talking about what we do and how we do it and how we'll soon be doing it for millions and millions and millions of people. That was pretty surreal. And then just, every single member story that I read, we're still at size where I read all of them. Every single one of them really makes a difference.
I love that. Last question, Brian. As a founder, what is one thing you hold as sacred?
The member experience, product experience. Are we enabling people to more easily and effortlessly access and afford care? If the answer to that is yes, and it continues to be a bigger and bigger yes over time, then we're doing what we're supposed to be doing.
I love it. Brian, I cannot thank you enough for joining me here today. Everybody out there, if you want to learn more, please check out paytient.com. That is paytient.com. Make sure that you request Paytient at the places that you work at. And you can join us next week for a new episode of For Starters with Alex Von Tobel. Brian, we are rooting for you. I think everybody who cares about healthcare and people's wellness here in America should be rooting for you. And I'm just so grateful for everything that you do.
Thank you, Alexa.